Hey guys, welcome to Roydy Summer with Shuts and Boom, Season 2, Episode 22, the season finale. I am Shuts.
Season 2, Episode 22, and I'm Boom. 2.
Season finale.
Season finale.
And I'm Shuts. And you're Boom.
I'm still Boom.
What's going on, man?
Nothing, not a whole lot. Work, weather. As people are listening to this, nobody went to work, nobody went to school. We don't know what's going to happen. It's Snowmageddon.
Snowmageddon.
I'm freaking out a little bit.
I'm glad I got to shoot my deer yesterday.
Yeah, and you don't have to. But congratulations, 2 deer on the year.
Yep.
A buck and a doe.
But don't have to clean it in this weather. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, that would not be fun.
No, I got it on the last day of the season, took it in, have the meat back in 6 weeks.
6 weeks you're going to eat. Until then, no food for you.
Nope, none whatsoever.
None. You are not eating. You're not eating high on the hog for another 6 weeks.
Neither is Dabo Sweeney.
Dabo Sweeney's not. He's not. But you know who is? Joe Cool.
Joe Cool is. That was a hell of a game.
That we left after first score of the fourth quarter, I believe. We looked at each other and said, "Yep, that's the ball game. Let's go home."
That's the ball game. Trevor Lawrence did not look good in that game.
He came out as much and said so, and saying it just wasn't his night. We were both a bit stunned by that game. We thought that it might be, even though everybody was picking LSU, you and I both, believe it or not, in separate conversations, and then before the game with one another, said, man, this smells an awful lot like a year when Nebraska played a Florida team that everybody thought was going to steamroll the Huskers.
I thought for the way that first quarter was looking and it was kind of flowing, I was like,
yep,
man, look out. This could be one of those where the experience, because Clemson was way more experienced. Had starters from their first national championship, 14 starters that were still on that team.
And by the way, Dabo Sweeney's still the head man. That makes that not to take anything away from Farmer Fran.
No,
but
he
killed him.
Killed him. No, Farmer. That's a perfect name for him.
Yes, it is.
No, tip of the cap to LSU.
Ed Orgeron got the job done. A guy who got shit canned at USC took over on an interim basis, I believe, at LSU.
And there was a time a couple years ago he was on the hot seat.
And look at him now. He's Le Champion.
They earned it.
They earned it. Joe Burrow, wow. He made some money off of Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, God, that moron.
Oh,
that was so stupid. Listen, we all know that shady stuff goes on. I think that shady stuff going on in college is nothing new, but levels of shady stuff going on.
You know, throw a couple of hundos around the room, slap somebody on the ass, and get yourself arrested
on camera. Yeah, on camera. Oh, it was LSU first comes out. It was fake money, and then
Joe Burrow's like, yeah,
no, it wasn't. He was honest about it. He's got nothing to lose. He's done. He's going to the pros. But it was interesting. He's like, no, let's not. I'm not going to be part of this. And I feel, you know who I feel for really? It ain't jackass Odell Beckham. That's Odell Beckham.
He's a moron.
He's a moron, and he's about him. He's about his branding. I feel bad for those kids.
Absolutely.
It was their night. It wasn't his night. He's an LSU alum who never won a title. Well, he was there, and he wanted to be part of it. I get it. I get it completely. You steal the show and pull that jackassery. And now who's going to pay for it? It ain't Odell Beckham. He's going to go, oh, okay, you got assault and battery. That doesn't mean anything. Okay, it's a fine. You'll pay a little fine.
Well, he'll probably get suspended short term in the NFL. Goodell's pretty good about coming down on people anymore. He likes to,
unless you're Robert Kraft. But,
unless you're the Pats.
But no, I wow, just sheer stupidity. That's all I'll say about Odell Beckham. Trying to sell his brand over his own team.
So Odell Beckham does what Odell Beckham does.
Yeah.
LSU, go Tigers.
Yeah.
Roll Tigers. Roll Tigers.
War Tigers.
War Tigers.
Oh, goodness. No, I just think that, there's the NCAA is going to make an example of this. Listen, like I said, I'll go back to, we know that shady stuff goes on. Let's not kid ourselves. Even down in Lincoln, I'm sure.
No, never.
But shady stuff is not created equal. Some schools more than others, and the SEC is notorious for it. Well,
they are. But I think one thing that you and I can definitely agree on is that's not the last, stack of bills that Joe Burrow is going to be counting. He's going to be the number 1 draft pick. He's going to be a Bengal. That's where he's headed. He's going to be a Cincinnati Bengal.
Yeah.
He's going to be starting for the Bengals week 1 after his record-setting year.
He was insane.
He was playing out of his mind the entire year, and to think he could have been a Husker.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
It's like listen. I'm gonna say right off the top, Joe Burrow, hats off. He made one hell of a career for himself in a very short amount of time at LSU. Started out at Ohio State. Transfer portal kid. He got up and he got out, and look at him. He made a pretty good decision.
The whole, if he'd have come to Nebraska, Scott Frost and Mike Riley all screwed the pooch.
He never would have played with the talent that he played with this year.
No, and I hate going after straw men. I hate doing that. I hate going after what if just because something works in one place
doesn't mean it works everywhere.
It's going to work in another. Not at all. I
Correct.
don't care what level.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Odell Beckham. Awesome in New York. How's he doing?
Phenomenal.
How is he in Cleveland?
Cleveland's a shithole.
But it's Odell Beckham.
I mean, they had the Drew Carey show, and they have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Speaking of which, big ups to the notorious B.I.G. Made his way to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I am feeling gangster AF right now. I heard that news, and it made my week.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah,
Biggie Smalls.
I don't even know if Pac is in. Is he in?
I meant to look it up before we went on air. I have no idea. I hope so, and if he's not, he will be. He should be. Those two should have been enshrined together. Actually, would have been fitting.
I think so. I agree completely. But Pac started before Biggie. He might be in.
I think so. He's probably already in. Neither here nor there. You've got Joe Burrow, and you've got a lot of Husker fans going, Bo could have got him. Then Mike could have had him.
And Scott could have.
And Scott could have had him.
But went with Adrian Martinez. Listen, I don't think Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow in Lincoln.
I don't think Joe Burrow's the number. I agree. He's not the number one pick in the draft if he comes to Lincoln.
And that's not lick your wounds. We made a serious mistake not getting him. The talent pool that's around him at LSU is not in Lincoln.
And who knows if he would have become the player he became if he, not to take anything away from the current staff, hell, not even to take anything away from Mike Riley, okay? Or Bo Pelini, anyone. It's all about life experience. If he doesn't hack it at Ohio State, he might not develop the mindset necessary. If Scott Frost doesn't go to Stanford and watch people play, does he become the Scott Frost he became after he came to Nebraska?
It's all the process. It's not the prize. It's the process.
Everything that happened to Joe Burrow from birth to winning that national title developed him into who he is.
Yeah,
He had some of the best wide receivers in the country.
Yeah.
Not to knock the current Nebraska offensive line, but pretty sure I would probably take LSU's current starting offensive line.
I would take
over
LSU's
ours.
running back, that little pork chop. I don't know his name.
Sweet baby Jane. I can't remember his name either, but wow.
Stud. All 5'7" of him.
Dude's a baller.
Yeah.
Dude, he's kind of, he kind of reminds me of Sproles on steroids.
The guy's just low center of gravity. They could no one man took him down
and lowered
the entire game.
Boom.
Not one single guy took him down by themselves.
Not that I can remember, no.
He was incredible.
Played lights out. But it all comes back to, is Joe Burrow what he is right now if he would have come to Lincoln as a freshman, or if he would have
first of all, it's an
here?
impossible. But if you want to play that game, no, I don't think he is.
He's not.
No.
So we should put that to bed. Everybody should just kind of take a deep breath, congratulate the guy who wanted to be a Husker, never became a Husker, but he's going to get paid big-time money that he wouldn't have gotten paid had he been a Husker.
Joe Burrow's going to be fine.
His pride might have been hurt for a minute and a half, but the cigar he was smoking, the couple of hundos that he got handed from Odell Beckham Jr., and the couple of mil that he's going to make just to sign his name to a contract more than compensates for that.
He's fine.
So, it's over. 2019 is fine. We can finally turn the page on the 2019 season that was.
I told you at the end of that. Well, actually, during that game,
you were ready. You wanted.
I
to
was
be
ready,
over.
and that not just because of the Huskers, actually, just as a whole, from officiating to the Huskers to college ball in general to pro ball. There comes a time where you just are like, I'm good. I need to recharge.
Speaking of which, I can't wait for the conference finals this weekend. We're a couple of weeks away from the Super Bowl. I'm actually looking forward to I'm glad this college season's over, but I'm looking forward to the AF and NFC championship games.
Are you?
I am, and you know why? Hey, how about them Saints? Who dat? Not making the second round.
Don't get me started on the NFL
the thing.
Well, they came close to your Bear. Oh, wait, your Bears. Wait, no. Once again,
Just like you know what the Bears got? A jump start on R&R.
Fair enough. Yeah, it was disappointing, my Saints. It was, once again.
I kid, by the way. You know that I did.
Oh, absolutely. No.
Zero issue with I'm disappointed because since we're already going down a rabbit hole and we're off topic, I was really hoping for a Brady versus Breeze Super Bowl. And one, if not both of them, to ride off into the sunset. Very fittingly, the two best quarterbacks of their generation.
They are.
No doubt.
They are. I was kind of hoping for that, too. It was tough to watch this. No, everybody's bitching. Saints Nation is bitching. That Who Dat Nation is complaining that there was a push-off. No, the defense completely collapsed. Kirk Cousins is not. I'm sorry, but Kirk Cousins is not the guy to win, and he did it in New Orleans because that Saints defense allowed it. Drew Brees had an uncharacteristic second half with a fumble and interception that he hadn't thrown in 8 games before that. They had a bad day. The defense did not show up, and Minnesota won. And I was upset about it just because I like watching good matchups. I realize that when you're talking NFL, you're talking a different game. You're talking just as much entertainment as you are sport.
Yes.
But for me, a lot of better teams lost. Tennessee beat Baltimore. Nobody saw that coming. Minnesota beat New Orleans and then got crushed as I predicted. That's why I turned to, I was around a bunch of Minnesota fans when I watched it. I go, the problem with I have is this: is it's not even going to be a game against San Francisco. You're going to get crushed because you don't belong there. Just like when you beat New Orleans a couple years ago on the Hail Mary, the miracle in Minnesota, and then a miracle in Minneapolis, and then got crushed the next week. I like to see good matchups.
How does it feel to have both of your teams lose to teams from Minnesota?
Well, it's tough. It's tough. No, that's a low blow.
The only thing that could have made it worse would have been if PJ Fleck coached the Vikings.
Well, oh, good God.
Anyways, okay.
You are horrible.
So PJ Fleck, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, right? 2019 season, we closed the book on it. Chapter's done. It's over with. Let's talk overachievers in the world of college football in 2019. I think the Minnesota Golden Gophers have to be up there.
They were slated to finish 3rd or 4th. They completely overachieved. They did well. I can rip on PJ Fleck, and I still continue to.
As you should.
It's just a style thing for me. He's probably a great coach. He's just as he's such a
he's douchey. He's
over
douchey.
the top.
It's over the top. But what I will give the guy is obviously his team, his group of players. They buy in to the whole row the boat mantra.
It's just not my style. That's the problem.
I get it. I do.
It just isn't. It's just.
It's easy to not like the guy.
Hey, they overachieved. I thought USC overachieved.
Well, Mr. Helton still has a job, so obviously he overachieved because I don't think either one of us thought he had a snowball's chance in hell.
No,
of going back for the 2020 season.
None of the other pundits did. Illinois.
Would you say they overachieved a little bit?
I would. When you have a miracle to beat Wisconsin.
But you, in fairness, foresaw the bowl game. You said, don't be surprised. Before the season started. This wasn't midway through. You said,
that's true,
don't
but
be
not the way it played.
Because of the Minnesota, or because of the Wisconsin win?
And because of the down 28-3 to Michigan State, you come back and win. I'm sorry. You're right. I did see a bowl. Just, I guess I would say they overachieved in the fact of the circumstances they were handed and still came out with a bowl. I thought bowl game potentially, but not the way it played out bowl game.
How about LSU? We thought they'd be good. Did anybody really think they were going to win the SEC? You had Tua coming back at Alabama. Alabama is Alabama. Sure, they're probably in the mix. I mean, couldn't you say that even LSU overachieved a little bit,
but
or not really? Is that a stretch?
Yeah, LSU. It's funny because Orgeron was on the hot seat a few years ago. But listen, LSU is just much like my boy Fowler in South Carolina. He's a Miami Hurricane. They got athletes. They do every year. They have for over a decade now. For 15 years, they have now. LSU has got plenty of stock down there. So really, they had a great season. It was a wonderful season. Tip of the cap to them, but I can't say it was completely overachieving.
So who else you got then? Overachievers.
Overachievers? Who do you got? Let me think on that.
Well, you actually brought the name up earlier, but it's the one before we went on air. But it's on the top of my brain now. Baylor.
Baylor. That's who I was trying to think of. Yeah. Baylor. Yeah, their coach for some odd reason I don't agree with it. Maybe you do. Jumped to Carolina. You got a sweet thing going down there in Baylor.
He had a sweet thing going in Baylor, but I don't think, regardless of how good you're making things in Baylor, you're not Oklahoma, and you're never going to be Oklahoma. You might be able to set up shop for a short while. We're going to get to the underachievers list and another team from the state that Baylor plays in, a team that I'm going to bring up when it comes to underachievers. But they didn't underachieve in my eyes, but the national pundits thought they were going to be good. Anywho, you're competing to be the third best team in the state at Baylor. I think that's the issue there, and I think that's why he did hop. You're getting offered NFL money to go and coach Christian McCaffrey. I mean, one of the best running backs in the game.
True.
And that's part of it.
So I just think the NFL is so damn volatile. One bad season, you're done.
Well, I mean, it's not like he's going to be
You could
working
say
for
that in
Jerry
college,
Jones.
True. Yeah, I overachievers. Yeah, Baylor certainly. I thought they collapsed at the end, but Utah overachieved a bit.
I would agree there. Utah did overachieve for the better part of the season. I didn't see them really being in the mix in the Pac-12. But the Pac-12 is a very, very fickle beast. It's very hard to predict because
outside of Oregon,
Oregon's been the only consistent, but they've even had a few inconsistent C's since Chip Kelly's left. You know, they've been up, they've been down. Hell, Nebraska under Mike Riley beat Oregon.
And speaking of Chip Kelly, we talk about, we were talking about Burrow. What do you fit in Nebraska? Look at Chip Kelly and you.
Oh, we're gonna get to that when we move on to the underachievers. Were there any players maybe even? I mean, take teams out of the equation. Was there anybody? Joe Burrow. Did we really think Joe Burrow was going to be the Heisman winner? Was he even in the talks before? I was all about Jalen Hurts, honestly, because I thought he was going to go to Oklahoma and shine, and he did well. But I'm pretty sure all of us were pretty much locked in on Tua, Jalen Hurts,
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence as a sophomore.
Hell, Adrian Martinez was a dark horse.
Well, he was a top 5 candidate to begin the season.
Boy.
Not so much. It didn't really come to fruition at all.
Players I can't off the top of my head. Aside from Burrow, you could certainly. He set NCAA records, so you can certainly say Burrow.
How about conferences? Because I think overall, the Big Ten was a better conference than I thought they were going to be.
They were.
I'm not saying that it was a stretch and that they extremely overachieved, but to think that you're talking about a conference that had Illinois and Indiana both bowling.
That's an interesting stat for next season. We're not going to predict anything for next season, but Nebraska plays 5 teams next season that ended in the top 15.
Their final 5 games.
In their final 5 games. That's never happened in the history of the NCAA. You play 5 teams that ended in the top 15. Now, year to year, it completely changes because of player turnover and what have you, graduation, go to the pros, transfer portal, the whole 9. But it's interesting. I think the Big Ten, I'd agree with you, did overachieve. That's the SEC's the SEC.
Well, they're the champs. It's already been decided that they will win the 2020 CFP. So we might skip season 3 of Row 87 with Shuts and Boom because the cards have already been dealt. It's going to be 2 SEC teams, Clemson and Oklahoma. Let's call it how it is. No, well, you know what? Ohio State had their chance. Next year they'll be shut out of the playoff, especially after
talking.
Well, I'm just saying. That's the way it is. That's it. Period.
According to Boom.
Now, for every overachiever, there was an underachiever.
We can start down the road.
There were several. We already know one team, but we'll get to them shortly. How about biggest underachiever in 2019, according to Shuts?
I would have to go.
This one's tougher because there were a lot of underachievers, but like who?
Texas.
I harped all year long. They were overrated. They weren't as good as
not to the degree they did. That was not good.
No.
He's on the hot seat.
We're going to get the hot seats here as soon as we are done with this little segment. We're going to talk about coaches across the country in hot seats.
I would say Texas.
Texas.
Michigan State. Well, that's not. Nope. I'm going to take that back.
That's tough to gauge, brother, because of the division they play in. That's like saying that Tennessee underachieved because they play in the SEC, whatever the hell division they're in, where no matter who's ahead of them, it's hard to knock them off. That's a tough sell, brother.
UCLA
underachieved because they weren't better. They didn't make any moves to look like a better football team. Again, we're going to get the hot seat. Chip Kelly's seat's getting pretty freaking warm in Southern California.
I believe it or not, I would say.
How about Washington?
That was very interesting, wasn't it?
And
then
him stepping down and everything that goes along with it. Them not really, I mean, they didn't even play for the Pac-12 championship.
No, Oregon and Utah.
Which is a shock. Yeah. Because I think Washington was a potential CFP team to start the season. There was a lot of hype there.
There was a lot of hype there.
And something just doesn't seem right about Peterson stepping down. He's still with the program, but it doesn't, something's not right. And something is going, it might take some time, but that reeks of something coming out at some point. Well, I'm not talking, it might not even be as serious as a sanction type thing.
No.
Something happened.
Something happened there. I'll tell you, underachiever, I guess my leader, I could have started with them. Miami.
The U?
The U.
Now, in fairness, year one of a brand spanking new head coach. But from a listen, okay, Canes fans can be just as disillusioned as we can.
More
as
so.
Husker fans,
If
not more so. But maybe it's because we're even further removed from greatness.
That's probably
that we've become more numb to it, and they still haven't come to grips with the fact that holy shit, it's not the '90s or even early 2000s anymore.
No,
they still haven't come to terms with it. But you got a first-year head coach who's never been a head coach before.
We've had,
but we had that in Bo Pelini.
I joke with my boy Fowler, and I tell Canes fans this: we just happen to be a decade ahead of you. We're just a decade ahead of you
in disappointment, yeah.
Yeah, but what to expect? We hired a great up and coming coordinator who did better his first year than Diaz did, but just because you're a great coordinator, again, we go back to Fitz, does not mean you're a great head man. We got a coach down in Lincoln that I believe is going to turn the ship around. However, you're not a coordinator anymore. You are not a coordinator anymore. You're now a head man. It's a different gig. Miami, just because of the sheer talent they had and their defense was pretty damn good. But when you go last game of the year, you limp in and you play Louisiana Tech and lose 14-0. Oh.
Got shut out.
Yeah.
It's the shutout aspect. That you only give up 14 points. In today's world of college football, you only give up 14 to just about anybody unless you play in the Big Ten. Because that's a different brand of ball, you should expect a W. You only gave up 14 points. Nebraska only gives up 14 points to anybody. You would expect it to be a win. Yes?
Agreed. I completely agree. I would say Miami, not to harp on him. I think he might have the recipe down there. We'll see. It's more than Jimmy's and Joe's. There's so much that goes on off the field in this crazy game called college football. There is so much more than just X's and O's, Jimmy's and Joe's. That's a big part of it. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
That's a huge part of it.
You need players.
But you need culture. You need scheme fit. You need the locker room to fit. You need
leadership.
You need the administration has nothing to do with X's and O's and coaches to be on the same page. I don't know that in Miami they are. To a degree. They're hiring big-name people. They've certainly got talent. That's never a thing. But I wonder if the administration is.
I want to stay in Florida, but move a little bit further north. Florida State. Year two of Willie Taggart, which neither one of us really thought that things were going to get a whole lot better for him. I think he walked in. First of all, he left Oregon in a bad way. But he gets to Florida State, and to be fair to the man, was never given a fair shot at getting things turned around. The culture there, I think they hired a good guy in Mike Norvell, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if I would want to touch the culture of Florida State for anything.
I don't. Right, you might be on. I forgot about that. You might be onto something there.
Midway through your second year, and you're going to shit can a guy.
Your history, if you follow history and cycles and all this, right?
Yes.
Bobby Bowden. You dance around. You bring in Jimbo Fisher. He wins a national title. They're only 5 years removed from a national title, something like that. 5,
Scary,
6 years.
Huh? Yeah.
how quickly you can fall from grace. We know. Ours just was a slower death. It took a decade. And now by this point, we're just numb. But Florida State, you had two coaches. I mean, we could say this about Nebraska. You had Bowden, who towards the tail end, he retired / was...
Yeah, he was shown the door.
Yeah, he was shown the
door. In a polite way.
And Fisher comes in, wins the national title, skips town for the money, and goes to Texas A&M, goes to Texas oil money, right? Okay, it is what it is. In college football, you have to give them time. They're pros, but you're not dealing with pro athletes. I realize some of them will go to the pros. If you're an Alabama roster, a Miami roster, even a Florida State roster. But my point is that Florida State, aside from what Fisher did, was trailing away from a one-coach stop that ever did anything at Florida State. You need to give that time. You just do. Nebraska's learning that. We've got what we think to be the next great one to bring us back. It's gonna take time. Florida State, I don't know that I touched that. I was surprised Norvell took it, but
it's a step up from Memphis, so I get it.
And it's money.
And it's money. It's Florida State money, even though I don't know if I really want to be a part of the culture. They got coin, and they're going to pay it, and they did. And we'll see what happens with Mike Norvell. I think he's a solid coach. What he's been able to do and build at Memphis is impressive. I know it's a group of 5 school, whatever, but it's an impressive job that he done. We'll see whether or not they give him time to get things. I don't think Taggart was going to fix anything.
No, I don't either.
It's the optics. You bring a guy in for a year and a half and then can him. That is as unstable as it gets, and I want no part of it.
Absolutely. But listen, there is such a thing, though, in defense of some teams that do this. Nebraska fired Riley after 3 years. I was never on board with it to begin with. You have to have tangible evidence that you need time. A year and a half is not enough to do that, what they did with Taggart. Mike Riley, I could have told you after game 1, the Hail Mary. No, this is not it. But anyway, the point I'm getting is that you have to give some proven time. It's like a business. Well, let's face it, it is a business. If I lay out a 5-year plan to a CEO that's going to, or a president or an owner of the company that's going to make me CEO, and I lay out a 5-year plan, you have to have tangible progress along those 5 years, right? Before you're going to be shown.
I would say yes.
Before you're going to be shown, give him more time. Now, sometimes in year 1 and 2, there's going to be a dip because you're changing things around. But come year 3, year 4, year 5 especially, now I need to start seeing something.
Well, we've talked about, by the way, the last team we're going to mention with underachievers, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, but we're going to hit pause on that because we're going to wrap up the show this time, talking Nebraska football and changes and whatnot. Before we get there, we're going to talk a little something that I coined last year that's going to carry over. It's going to be an every year thing on this show. It's silly season. We've already talked about a couple of the coaching changes.
Right. Good old silly season.
Baylor hired the defensive coordinator from his name is escaping me right now. Defensive coordinator from LSU is now the head man at Baylor. We talked about Mike Norvell taking over at Florida State. Let's talk about one of your favorite coaches, one of my favorite personalities, Mr. Mike Leach, heading out the door at Wazoo and is now the head man
Mississippi State
at Mississippi State. He's in Starkville.
It's interesting. First thing I asked is what was wrong with Wazoo? What happened there? He's a unique guy, Leach. If you ever listen to him off the away from the field, just when they do interviews with him, he's a crazy guy. He's highly
That's why
intelligent.
I love him. That's why
I like him too. He's highly intelligent. He just he does wacky things like teaches himself Spanish.
He's a mad scientist.
I just walk around with a book and learn Spanish just because. He was an attorney before he was a coach. He's highly intelligent. The Starkville thing's interesting. When I first heard it, you told me actually. I was out hunting when you
Breaking news.
Yeah, you told me about it, and I go, well, it sort of makes sense. Starkville's kind of in the middle of nowhere, unhidden, hidden gems in Mississippi. There are a lot.
Oh, yes, there are. I lived there. Yes.
There are a lot of hidden gems, just like in Wazoo. What he did is the same thing in Wazoo as what he did in Lubbock when he was at Texas Tech. Hidden gems nobody thinks about, they overlook. I can turn this around. I can put together entertaining, high-flying football. Don't really care much about defense or running the ball, but I can make it entertaining. I can make it high speed, low drag, easy to learn.
And the talent pool in state, considerably better. Not so much as you had when he was in Texas and Lubbock, but definitely more talent rich than anything that he saw in Washington State.
In Pullman, Washington.
Yeah. Very talent rich. Nebraska has gone into Mississippi over the past decade, 15 years, and gotten some gems from Mississippi. Imagine Mike Leach being able to get some of the offensive weapons that are available in the states. Listen, if you are a high-level player in the state of Mississippi, you've just been given a reason, especially if you're a high-powered wide receiver. Maybe not running back, but if you're a high-powered wide receiver or a quarterback or an offensive lineman, you might want to come play for Mike Leach. There's a lot of talent in that state. For those of you who haven't been living under a rock, the first couple of years of Last Chance U featured a community college team from Mississippi. They take football. I went to high school for 2 years in Mississippi. You're talking about very Texas-like in the sense that towns shut down on Friday night. The town showed up. I lived in Grenada, Mississippi, midway between Memphis, Tennessee, and Jackson, Mississippi. Town shut down for home games. And folks travel. Here you go to a football game, and sometimes even in the city of Omaha, you look on the opposing side, and you might have half-empty seating.
The parents are there.
The parents are there. Maybe a few friends of the football players make the drive. The girlfriends. That doesn't happen in the South. In the South, that doesn't happen. It's a cultural thing. Everybody goes to the game.
It's an interesting hire. He is who he is. I'm intrigued to see him when he goes up against Kiffin in the Egg Bowl.
Say what you listen. Lane Kiffin is dirtier than the draws from abroad at bottoms up. It's not good.
Yeah,
he's dirty. He's
so's the school he's
going dirty. To. So's the school. The Good Old Boy Network. That whole again. It's been a couple of decades since I lived there, but I lived there. It's very handshakes and back rooms, and it happens everywhere. Again, it happens everywhere, but
levels.
Lane Kiffin. I would not want Lane Kiffin running my team. He was great down in the land of cocaine where he came from, Florida Atlantic. He was perfect there. He was perfect. Perfect for the smugglers, for the cocaine, okay? Tony Montana, he would have been great with him. That would have been a great setup. He fits in at Ole Miss.
Sure.
But that's going to be a very interesting Egg Bowl. By the way, that's what they call the annual game between Mississippi State and Ole Miss. It's the Egg Bowl. Play for the Golden Egg, I believe. Not Willy Wonka, but the Golden Egg. I am actually looking forward to that game every year, rivalry weekend.
Because of those two characters.
Those two very different but very charismatic. The one thing they have in common, charismatic. The other thing they have in common, offensive genius. Lane Kiffin helped guide Nick Saban to a national championship.
His daddy was a defensive genius.
He's just as smart on the offensive side, only he's so smart that he sometimes thinks too much and does things illegally or whatever the case might be. He also tried to steal one of our not really steal. He offered one of our coaches a job.
We gave him a pay raise. He's staying put.
We'll get to ours in a minute. But so that's one of the coaching changes that's been going on.
Are we going hot seat or changes?
Well, silly season comes along with hot seats. Hell, there was a guy who was on the hot seat towards the end of the season that wasn't on the hot seat, but then all of a sudden he got fired because his team got blown out in a bowl game of all. Who gets fired for Mississippi State? Who gets fired in today's world for games that people don't even really give a shit about unless you're playing in a New Year's, 6 bowl?
Remind me again, who'd they have in that matchup? Who's that bowl game matchup against?
I don't remember. Believe it or not, I don't remember.
It was a Who Cares Bowl, like most of them are. Let's be honest, most of them are.
And they lost because nobody cared, probably. But there was also an altercation between the quarterback and somebody else on the team before the game, so the starting quarterback didn't start. So that's why Mississippi State no longer has a head coach.
Interesting. For me, I guess my surprise is I'll go hot seat. Clearly, Chip Kelly. We covered that.
Well, should we go down? Should we go down the list of the? Let's go down the list of the hot seats.
Okay, let's do it.
We'll start with the SEC. These are not my calculations, although some of these, as we go through them, I will definitely say, yeah, I called that one. You go ahead and say which ones you called. This is actually Adam Rittenberg from ESPN. Guys that he potentially sees on the hot seat or very soon could be on the hot seat. SEC, Derek Mason from Vandy.
No surprise, really.
And then Will Muschamp, South Carolina.
Yeah, I see that. They don't demand a lot, but I think the fact that Clemson is so high and flying now that the Gamecocks are getting a little antsy. So, yeah, I can see that one.
Now, he also has to keep an eye on Gus Malzahn at Auburn, which is kind of an annual thing. It's kind of like, well, are you going to beat you beat Alabama? Okay, you're safe. You don't beat Alabama, you're probably going to be gone.
That's a funny thing.
Well, he's still around, though.
He's still around, but I believe it or not, and tip of the cap to Minnesota, but that loss to Minnesota.
Hey, I called that one.
You did.
I didn't call many of them, so I'm not going to act like I know it all, because I don't. But that one I kind of saw.
That loss was huge. Because here's why. They already had the embarrassment against UCF 2 years ago. They're like, oh, they didn't want to be there. Players wanted to be there.
And they lost.
Players
to PJ Fleck.
Players stuck around. The defensive tackle, who's going to go high first round. A bunch of the defense stuck around. I think one player did sit out, but a lot of the players that could have gone pro or just not sat out or not cared showed up. Gus Malzahn needed that one because losing that game, null and void that you beat Alabama. Null and void. Big year for Gus Malzahn.
The other name in the SEC that Rittenberg says you should keep an eye on, Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee. Now, you had some, when I told you this before the show, you had some strong opinions about the situation at Tennessee.
Yeah, here's my opinion. Philip Fulmer, great head football coach.
You know, funny thing is Tennessee was one of the names that circulated about when Scotty was being courted by Nebraska.
So was Florida State.
Sort of Florida State and Florida State, yeah. So, yeah, that's just – it's funny to me that Pruitt's already on the hot seat after 2 years in the well, you know what? The Big Ten might be reaching a point now to where it could be argued. Of course, it's all about rings, and the SEC keeps winning them. But I would still say the SEC is the toughest conference to coach in.
Philip Fulmer,
the toughest conference to win.
Well, it's a den of thieves. But Philip Fulmer, great head football coach, horrible administrator. You don't hire coaches every 3 years and expect results. It's not going to work. I don't care who you are. You have to have stability, especially when you have a revolving door of players every year. You have to have stability there. If you don't, Tennessee's out of their minds to think they're ever going to go anywhere hiring a coach every 3 years. Philip Fulmer, you were a great head football coach. I'll never take anything away from that.
No, he did great things at
but
Tennessee.
You are not the guy to run a stability at Tennessee.
Well, sometimes when you hold on to, hey, we're guilty of it. Although I think Frank got a really raw deal in his tenure here. Sometimes we tend to, as a fan base, as universities, cling to the past a little bit much. And sometimes those types of decisions are made where you bring in Philip Fulmer because he's the guy who made Tennessee. He's the guy who brought him a ring, him and T. Martin.
Now you've got to pump the brakes. It's interesting. We'll see what happens there. Who's the next one?
All right, let's go to the Pac-12.
Okay.
Hot seat. I'm shocked. We already kind of touched on this. Shocked he's still the coach. Didn't think their season was going to go as well as it did. Figured we'd be talking about Urban Meyer or James Franklin coaching this team. Clay Helton, USC.
Interesting move. But I'm going to tip my cap, not that I agree with Clay Helton, but I'm going to tip my cap to their AD to sticking to his guns. USC is such a popularity contest down there, and it's the celebrities bitch and the celebrity players bitch that are analysts now for ESPN.
Correct.
And it's way to stick to your guns. It may cost you your job, but way to stick to I got to tip the cap for sticking to his guns. Again, we go back to stability. I don't care if you're Pete Carroll. If Pete Carroll doesn't get the stability in the back, and now Pete Carroll was winning. Let's be honest here, but you have to have stability. Let him lay his groundwork.
And part of it's buyout. Not as much as somebody else we're going to mention in a few minutes, but part of that's buyout money as well. They're going to save some money by letting him go another year. And it's hard to fire a guy who improved his team and won as many games as he did. The other name in the Pac-12 Rittenberg brings up, I didn't think of before I read the article, but it doesn't surprise me seeing it written down now. Kevin Sumlin at Arizona.
Arizona shelled out buku cash for him.
How in retrospect and looking back now, did he or did he not just hit an out of the park home run when it came to Johnny Manziel being his quarterback?
That was it. And that's all it takes, though.
That's, yeah.
It'll buy you cash into the sunset.
And that's exactly, I think, what it did,
Yep.
because it's going to be hard for him to find a head gig after this Arizona one.
I agree.
And then keep an eye on Chip Kelly, who I egg on my face, and maybe this is the year things turn around. I thought he was going to be competing in the Pac-12. You have a solid coach and a solid foundation, and you've got talent. You've got just as good a chance as anybody to win the Pac-12 on any given year, unless Oregon is rolling. It's the South Division, anybody's game. Anybody's game.
Well,
any given year. I thought he'd be competing by year 3. I thought he would be competing for a Pac-12 championship. I retract that statement. His seat is becoming warm. If it weren't for a $9 million buyout, he probably would not be coaching there this upcoming season.
I agree. He's in a lot of situations like the coach we have at our town. He is. 2 hottest names coming out, and the 2 losingest so far.
That is correct. Chip Kelly and his protege, Scott Frost.
Now, I like what Scott's doing. I have no idea what Chip's doing. But it goes to show you.
We know very little of the Pac. Let's be honest here. You and I know
we
very
know
little.
enough to be dangerous, but not enough.
Correct.
I think that in Scotty's case, I'm not going to kick on Nebraska here, but in Scotty's case, he's making changes and he's doing things that people want, and that they appear to be going right. Chip Kelly may have been a guy that had Nike backing, unique place. We got Nike U. We can brand. We can get players up here from L.A.
Right now, he's the other team in Los Angeles, and the other and
it worked for a time and period in Oregon. Don't get me wrong, Oregon's still pretty good. They're pretty decent, but they're still backed by Nike U.
Correct.
Now, UCLA is not chumps.
No,
it's still the talent wealth around.
Very rich.
Yeah, he doesn't have to go far to get his talent, but it's again situation, administration, backing, fan support. Where's it at? I can tell you this much: in USC and UCLA, USC has more backing, but if they're having a down year, their stadiums are half empty. The people in LA, just like I joke with my boy Pete from the Cape in Maryland, they're pro town. That's Hollywood. They don't care. If you're down, you're down. We don't care. The only reason Clay Helton at USC is getting more hell is because he's got a bunch of celebrity former players that bitch and donate and what have you, that have their voices heard. UCLA, I think he is on the hot seat. It's going to be a very big year for Chip Kelly.
We're going to move on to the ACC. Only one name from Rittenberg here. Dave Doran, NC State. I don't know anything about it. I don't know about NC State. I don't knock programs because it's not like Nebraska's very good or has been for the past 5 years. Let's be honest, 5 years. I don't care. It's NC State.
I think the only reason it is.
I know Russell Wilson played there once.
The team down the road picked up Mac Brown. It's an in-state rival. You beat them all as well. NC State, probably just because of that coach is on the hot seat because Mac Brown showed up at North Carolina.
The one that he says to keep an eye on, Miami, Manny Diaz. It's a little early, but it's just to keep an eye on. He's not saying the guy's seat is hot. I think another year like this and Manny Diaz's seat is incredibly hot.
I think so. I think you'd be right. You keep an eye on it, but
now he pulled the trigger that they've got themselves a new OC after getting shut out in a bowl game. So new offensive coordinator. He's made changes.
Listen, the fans have a right to bitch, and especially with the talent pool they have. But it's also scheme. It's also X's and O's. It's also an administration. It's a lot of things that go on in college football. It's your front office. How's your front office look? I don't know. With Miami, it's hard to say. It ain't talent. I'll tell you that much. It's not talent.
The Big Ten, no one is on the hot seat, according to Adam Rittenberg. But he said to watch out for not one, not two, but 3 coaches in the Big Ten, headlined by my guy, Lovie Smith.
I did predict bowl. We touched on this. We'll
You
be quick
did.
with this
You
one.
did. And again, hats off on that bowl prediction being correct for Shutzy.
Not the way it went, though. Lovey,
Is he living on borrowed time? We said this past year.
you watch what he's done the last 3 years. JUCO transfers, JUCO transfer portal, JUCO transfer portal. He's gutted the last 2 years of recruiting. When he first hit the door, he was recruiting. They weren't very high classes, but now look at him. Last year they signed 13 and then brought a bunch of transfers in. This year they signed 12 and bring a bunch of transfers in. Well, they're hoping on the transfers this year. I think the blessing and the curse of Lovie Smith is the very guy that got him to a bowl game, and it's Brandon Peters. I think he's a decent quarterback for him. But not having that cycle where you can bring in somebody fresh and convince the young guys beneath him, hey, he's only going to be here a year. They brought in a hotshot prep kid. He's a freshman this year. Big name for him. He was a receiver. Nobody wanted him to play quarterback, but Lovie says, we'll play at quarterback. And the next thing Lovie does is bring in Brandon Peters for 2 years. Now if I'm this kid who got sparse playing time, they moved him to receiver, and then eventually I think he's going to be a receiver or he's going to be a transfer.
Right.
That's what he's doing. What he's doing is he's gambling on, he's credit carding. He's getting JUCOs and transfer portals, but you're not building, and in college football you have to build depth. You have to build the roster from the bottom up.
And the interest rate is quite high on that. Very, very high interest rate when it comes to borrowing players part-time.
And that's what he's doing. I think in his mind, they're going for broke. Why not? It's a last stop for him.
Name number 2 to keep an eye on being on the hot seat. Guy that I've been kind of saying that it's the beginning of the end and whatnot. Mark D'Antonio, Michigan State. Bottom line, he can't afford to finish 4th anymore, and the problem is they're the 4th best program in the East at Michigan State. You're staring up and you're looking up at Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. Good luck. Good luck.
And what Michigan State's got to remember, not that we can sit on some high and mighty cloud at Nebraska, especially not the last 15 years. But,
nope.
But you're Michigan State before D'Antonio. Your claim to fame was Nick Saban, who made a quick stop there.
And was outs.
Yeah, you don't have a rich history of being awesome in the Big Ten. You just don't. I don't know D'Antonio is a great coach. He's doing the best he can. He's won you in the last 5 years. He's won you a title or two.
Yes, he has.
What do you want him to do? He does not have the resources of the big brother up the road, Michigan. He sure as hell does not have the resources of Ohio State.
Or Penn State.
He does not have the alum or the resources of a Penn State. What do you want him to do?
I'm not saying there's much more he can do. I'm just saying that in today's college football world, you can't afford to finish 4th. You can't afford to. Best case scenario for Michigan State is what they've done. Mix in some 7-win seasons, 8-win seasons, play out of your minds, have a 10-win season, represent the team in the Rose Bowl, win the Big Ten occasionally. The problem that Mark D'Antonio now has, I think he's one of the best coaches in the conference. The problem is most coaches are one of the best coaches in this conference now. This conference is loaded with coaching talent.
Yep.
Loaded.
And they're going to slide back down. I'm not surprised at his name.
Name number 3, can you give me a guess?
Oh, I can. Jimmy
H.
Let's be honest. His biggest problem is you cannot beat the boys not to be named.
What is this going to be, year 4 or 5 for him?
This is year 6.
Is it 6 for him?
Coming up, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 6.
He has to win the conference.
He
needs to beat Ohio State. If he beats Ohio State, he's got a good chance.
Second. He can finish second.
As long as he beats them.
He has to beat Ohio State. He has to beat Ohio State.
He's not going to get fired this year, but his seat is insta-hot.
If they finish second or if they finish third with a loss to Ohio State, he's done.
He's done?
He's done.
Dunsky.
This year, it's if you lose to Ohio State, you don't have to represent the East in the title game. You'll get a bye on that. But if you lose to Ohio State again, I think you're done.
Well, that brings us to. Well, let's see. I'm scrolling down. Sorry, I lost my place on the phone while I'm scrolling while we're having this conversation. So that's it for the Big Ten. That wraps it up. That leaves us with the Big 12. Hot seat? None. Nobody on the hot seat as of yet. There's only one name, one, to keep an eye on, according to Adam Rittenberg. Tejas, Texas.
I would say he is on the hot seat.
Tom Herman at Texas.
I would say he is on the hot seat. It's very warm. It would have been extremely hot had he lost to Utah in the bowl game. They ended up beating him pretty good. Yeah, it's going to get real hot, I think, for him this season, this upcoming one.
All right, you want to put something in perspective when it comes to, you remember the Nebraska and the Big 12 days, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember those days. Texas hasn't won the Big 12 since 2009. It's been 10 years since Texas won the Big 12.
Interesting enough that the conference broke up after that year.
And since Nebraska and Colorado and Missouri have left the Big 12.
And Texas A&M.
And Texas A&M. Texas hasn't been able to win the conference.
Could it be that they played on a level playing field after all those teams left?
Because they had no choice? Because there were threats of Oklahoma saying F you?
That's exactly what happened. More so than that, it was the other teams in the conference going, look here, we're not going to get gutted because of you.
And other conferences going, we'll pass on you, Texas.
Yep.
Because I know for a fact, well, I don't know for a fact because I wasn't in boardrooms, but I'm 90% sure in my own small, tiny brain that the Pac-12 passed on Texas. That they had an opportunity to land Texas and said, yeah, nah.
They were. This was when they were in talks with Oklahoma, and Texas jumped on and said, no, take instead of expanding with this team and that team, take 4 of us. And Pac-12 says, we don't listen to you, Texas.
Well, and the Pac-12 also wanted to have their own television network, and Texas had their own little party going.
Yeah. Big Ten said the same thing. We have Ohio State and Michigan here. We don't need to listen to you.
So Tom Herman may be in a little bit of trouble at Texas, and not even his own fault. That's. Oh, by the way, there's a guy we know who works in the Texas.
We talked about front offices.
Texas front office. Now he's not running the show there, but he's a part of it, and that says something in and of itself. A guy by the name of Sean Eichhorst. Oh yes, we're talking about coaching carousels and hot seats. We're gonna bring it home now, brother. We're gonna move on to Nebraska. And yes, there were changes there, but I want to get to something a little bit more important, a little bit more pressing. I want to talk to you about the potential of Nebraska losing a homecoming of sorts for Bob Diaco.
Oh, God.
Coming to the fold at Purdue.
Oh, good God.
Good old Bobby Diaco.
Thank you for bringing. He had success. Where was he at where he came from?
I don't know where he was before. Oh, wait. The team that beat Miami, wasn't he?
He was down at Louisiana Tech.
He was the DC for Louisiana Tech.
You know where he was after we canned him? He went to Oklahoma.
Did he really?
For a year or two, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's down at Louisiana Tech. They did great things. Well, as we taught our coach, Scotty, that's great you did things down at Louisiana Tech. When it comes to big boy, I'm very glad Purdue got him. Congratulations, Purdue. Thank you. Much like when we took Cosgrove and Wisconsin sent us the thank you letter.
Are you going to be able to live with yourself if Purdue beats Nebraska week 1 and Bob Diaco's the DC?
No. We've been joking about this. Oh. I am judging all of next season, all the eggs in one basket, September 5th against Purdue, season opener in Lincoln.
I'm going to judge the entire season on the spring game, and if Nebraska doesn't get a shutout, we're screwed. If we can't get a shutout in the spring game, we're done. Goose is cooked, homie.
Bob Diaco to Purdue, congratulations. That's great. I'm very happy for him.
And in all seriousness, here in the land of the Big Red, been some coaching movement. Javon DeWitt, no longer with the staff. Happy trails.
Good luck.
He's now hanging out with Mac Brown. Mac Brown traded his ranked 70-something special teams coordinator for the 119th, whatever the hell we were, ranked special teams coordinator in Javon DeWitt. No ill will. The 2 units that he coached were the 2 worst on the team in special teams and outside linebackers, and we replaced him with a familiar face.
Dawson is back.
Dawson is back and now coaching the outside linebackers. I feel pretty good about it.
I'm indifferent on it. I just don't know. I think he's more of a fit. He's done both D-line and linebackers for like 17 years off and on. I don't know. I'm indifferent. I kind of, just because I wanted new blood in here, was going for something else. But we'll see. It's going to be a step up, I can tell you that.
And then a name being floated around to be a consultant, not a coach. I can't remember his first name, so forgive me.
Snyder's kid.
But Bill Snyder's son is being rumored to come in to handle the duties of special teams.
He'll be an analyst. Yeah, I'm
okay with that.
I'm all okay with that as well. He's getting snubbed down in Manhattan.
Bill Snyder's teams were always known for having good special teams.
He's getting snubbed down there. After Dad left, he got moved, got a pay cut. He got moved again, and he got another pay cut. They're slow. The AD down there has no love for the Snyder family.
Nope.
And he did hire a good head coach, though.
Yes, he did.
But I think that I would love that. I'd be all for it. Special teams can't get any worse. Bring them on in.
And then we had some additional titles and a couple of pay raises.
Rightfully so.
To our staff. Ryan Held, now about $100,000 pay bump. He was the lowest paid. Now that's actually been taken by the new old coach that just returned.
Yeah. Ryan Held, the running backs coach,
is now the recruiting coordinator, and rightfully so. Dude has connections. He's great with people. I do believe, we talked about this off the air before the show, I think he's a lifer. I think he coaches at Nebraska until Scotty decides to hang it up. And if Scotty decides to hang it up before 20 years goes by, I could very easily see Ryan Held being the future head coach way down the line.
He's going to be the future
eventually,
OC.
I think eventually he'll be the OC. I think eventually he's going to have the title of assistant head coach.
He'll be Frankie Jr.
He will.
Him or Greg Austin, but I think more so him.
Greg Austin also taking on a pay raise. No pay raise. I'm sorry, but running game coordinator. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm all for it. I love the fact that you have a line coach that wants to get into the ground game. Scotty's openly said that he wants to be a running team. That doesn't say we're just going to run it all the time and welcome back to 1997.
Option
left, option right. No, but it's good. It's encouraging to me. And it also says, my opinion is, it says something about our offensive coordinator. I don't know that it's bad yet. I don't know that it's negative, but I will say that our receivers, aside from JD and Wandale, pretty much completely underperformed.
They were terrible.
And they had depth. So I think it's more of a, we need you to focus more on receivers in the passing game, which he's known for anyway.
Yes.
I like it. I like having the line coach directly involved in the run game. He's the guy that works the trenches. And the fact that Scotty this year complimented his offensive coaches, I think he was talking about Greg Austin and how the run game
held
against Wisconsin. We lost, but Mills rushes for over 200 yards against Wisconsin's defense. Yeah.
And the two coaches most responsible for that, the O-line coach and the running backs coach.
Yeah, I like it.
And then Travis Fisher getting a much-deserved raise so that he won't leave. He's the best recruiter on the team. Literally, he basically took every prospect in the city of Miami and had them come here. It's basically what he did.
Yeah, he got
in this recruiting
6-7
cycle.
kids all from Florida to come up here.
And then, he deserved it because, honestly, I named him the position coach of the year.
Yeah.
Well, when I handed out the first annual Boomies, he was the coach of the year because, that defensive backfield was stellar. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I think this shows the most important thing so far, and who knows, there might be more changes. We don't know yet. There's speculation. We're not going to throw rumors out. We only do that about women.
Oh, God. You're going to get us killed again, Boom.
That's okay. What it shows is that maybe Scott Frost is becoming more of a CEO. Maybe Scott Frost has learned and matured in his 2 years here, especially after the lumps of year 2. Year 1, I think he kind of looked at it, and he used this excuse at the end of the year this year too. But year 1, he went, wow, didn't see that coming. Very negative culture, some bad apples. Need to get rid of bad apples. Need to get fresh blood in here. And he's gotten more. He's got 2 years now of infusions when it comes to new blood. His third recruiting class. But really, this will be after 2 years of really full classes of his guys. Full classes with full time to be able to recruit them, etc. So this shows progress, I think, mentally for Scott Frost because it's him taking a step back and evaluating not only his staff but himself. I think it's huge that all of a sudden there's a run game coordinator. It tells me that I don't think he ever shut anybody's opinions out.
No.
But I think he's realizing that he needs to be a CEO. He needs to run the whole show. He needs to have his fingerprints on everything. And I think that if he splits assignments up like he seems to be starting to do, that could become the evolution needed for Nebraska to get where they really want to get.
He's still going to call the plays, and I'm fine with that. I just think you need to, again, delegate a little more authority. And I think they're doing that. I think they are. I'm excited to see next year. I'm not going to make any predictions. We'll do that next season.
I want to know right now what you think record-wise. I want to know right now how many rushing yards Dedrick Mills is going to have, and I want to know right now how you're going to react when Bob Diaco shuts down Nebraska's offense and Purdue wins and starts off the season undefeated, as they will end the season undefeated.
You are totally out of your tree.
Yes,
Boom.
sir, I am.
I think the Nebraska will play in 12 games. I think that Dedrick
What
Mills...
about, whoa. Are they not going to go to the spring game? Yeah,
Okay.
that makes 13.
13. They'll play in 12 regular season games in the spring game. I think that Dedrick Mills will rush.
So no bowl game.
Don't know. Up in the air. Toss-up.
Okay, fair enough.
Dedrick Mills will rush for a yard. Purdue will lose to Nebraska. Nebraska starts the season off 1-0. I'll give you that much. That's my predictions. That's it.
After we wrap up the show, I'm going to call your dad and ask him if he thinks we're going to get the job done against Purdue.
The Oracle.
I'm going to start it early this year.
Oh,
Do you think
we're
going to get the job done?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
No, that's what I think.
I'm not even going to text him. I'm going to call him.
Call him right now.
He's probably still awake.
Yeah, well, he's a night owl. That man's incredible. No, that's what I think.
That's what you think? That's it?
That's it.
No more insight?
Well, I have plenty of insight, whether it's
Who's the starting quarterback?
Oh, God. Boom, we have plenty of time for this in the spring.
No, we don't.
Oh, God.
Are we doing a spring game show?
Next time we'll be back. We have announcements, but the next time we'll be back is in the spring for Row 87 with Schutz and Boom, the football show.
We would like to say, first of all, some news, row87.com wise. We have a new edition. How about you let us know the latest edition of Row 87? Former classmate of Schutzy's.
Go ahead, Boom.
No, please.
Go ahead.
Well, she's a very talented writer.
She's awesome. Alligator.
Are we just going to call her Alligator?
No, she's not going to like that, but I joked with her. That was her name.
Is that okay? So you're good with nicknames.
Yeah, Alligator.
You dubbed the ghost when it came to Ashley Moore. Alexandra Wilson.
Yeah. Allie is awesome. She's awesome.
Very short correspondence between her and I. She impressed me. She impressed her writing skills. Impressed Ashley. She's going to come on board. She's going to write about music. She's going to write about entertainment in the metro scene, as well as nationally. We're not stopping there. That's the only announcement we have. New staff.
Welcome aboard. We're excited to see you soon.
We will see you very soon. We're looking forward to your work. We're still looking for others, by the way, just because we found somebody to do some writing when it comes to the music scene, entertainment scene. We would like more of you to join Row 87. Get on board now. Get on the bus. Hop on the bus. Roll with us. I think we're pretty cool. That's just me.
I'm very excited where this show is going.
And we're the Row 87 is we're going to have a new show.
We are.
We're going to tease. We're just going to be.
We've been doing that for a year now, but
we've been doing that for a year.
It means that much to us where this is going.
And we don't want to spill too much because we're proud of this project that's upcoming. It's going to take us in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
New formatting, new sound, new style, new hosts. I think we're going to can Schutz and Boom.
And hire Trevor and Jesse.
And it's going to be glorious. It's going to be great. The website's growing, thanks to all of you. This show has grown. I think if you were to, they're no longer available for the public. I might actually tease folks, and maybe no!
Don't torture them, Boom.
Maybe we will re-release season 1.
Oh God, no!
And the atrocities that were. For those of you who have been riding with us since the beginning,
you can tell improvement.
I think you can tell vast improvement in the show.
And I think that this new show is going to take it to new levels. I really do. I'm that excited about it.
Maybe New York.
Oh, God. I don't want to go to New York.
I don't want to live in that shithole either.
No, I don't want to go to New York.
I don't even want to visit.
No. Take me south to the ocean. Take me to Floribama.
It's like
To Kenny Chesney song, Floribama.
it's like 40 below out right now.
Yeah, I know it.
I want to go to Texas and live there.
I want to go south. But until then, let's do a show.
We'll do a show. We'll do another show. So in a few weeks down the line, we're gonna unveil a show and a show logo, and maybe a little teaser, maybe a little preview of what the show is going to sound like. So in a few weeks, we're gonna drop that info, and then in a month or two, we're gonna drop a brand new show. We might even have a gathering before the show drops, or right after that show drops.
Oh, we're certainly getting the Ghost and Alligator together.
We're going to get together with them and maybe invite you fans, you friends and family and fans of the show, to come out and celebrate the new endeavor with us. But we're excited. You know, we're both going to be looking for work here soon. My job's closing. Me, you, and Scott Frost can all go job hunting together.
Oh, good God.
What? What's wrong?
You are horrible. Oh, I'm going to miss these knee slappers. No, I am.
They're just going to get worse with the new show.
I'm sad and happy sad that the season's ending, but happy that we got bigger and better coming on the horizon.
22 episodes this year, man.
It's pretty good.
22 episodes. Season 2, episode 22. 222.
It was great, wasn't it?
It was fun. I had a lot of fun doing the show with you this year, man.
I did as with you, as always, and I got to thank you, first and foremost, our fans. You guys are awesome. I'm just an idiot behind a microphone.
So am I.
You guys are incredible. Ashley, you're awesome. Thank you. We're growing. Join our team. We'll have publications out. We'll have posts out. Roadie7.com, Facebook, Instagram.
And I'm going to announce Shuts and Boom's presidential campaign.
Sure, why not?
Intentions.
We'll throw our name in the hat.
Shuts and Boom 2020.
Maybe 2024.
Or 2021.
Why not? Well, with that, we're going to see you guys in a few months. We will have a new show coming out in a few weeks. Stick with us. Go to Roadie7.com for all the information.
Check it
news
daily.
And stories. Facebook. With that, I am Shuts.
I'm Boom.
We'll see you next season.